If you're a gamer, chances are you've had some kind of drink that contains caffeine before one of your gaming sessions. So why not just chug an energy drink or coffee instead of some other beverage like soft drinks or juice if you're planning to grind for a specific goal in your game? Well, what if I told you that caffeine, when used incorrectly, can actually make you less focused, more tired, and possibly stop you from improving? Here's how caffeine holds you back. Now, I'm not here to claim that caffeine is evil, nor am I here to convert you. All I'll do is present some facts. You can choose what to do after you absorb them. Maybe you want to experiment around with it, maybe you don't see or agree with my point of view, but at least you'll be able to use these things brought up to make an informed decision yourself. So first off, let's talk about what caffeine really does. There are several effects caffeine can give, but the two main benefits I'll focus on is the reduction of fatigue and an energy boost. If you've searched online before, you've most likely come across terms like adenosine or adenosine receptors, in which caffeine can make you less tired. To simplify this effect, you've basically been given a painkiller but for fatigue. You don't feel tired at all doing anything, even when you've been gaming or doing work for 3 hours straight. However, when that effect wears off, you'll start to feel tired again, but unlike a painkiller, the fatigue you've accumulated in the past couple of hours will also start to catch back up. Even though caffeine has done its job blocking your brain out from feeling tired, the fatigue isn't gone, it's just waiting there until your brain can feel it again. That's what a caffeine crash is. Whenever you head to sleep, your brain will slowly start clearing out the fog in your head. This in theory should help you wake up feeling refreshed. The energy itself comes from caffeine increasing cortisol and adrenaline circulation in your body. When you get sunlight in the morning, cortisol is released in your body to signal for it's awake. Combined with adrenaline, you get a huge boost of energy and alertness, which helps you do whatever you need to get done. Brain benefits are also mentioned in certain studies of caffeine intake, including improvements in processing speed, memory, and mood, but the evidence is inconclusive with mixed results. This could be due to the fact that caffeine doesn't actually play a huge role in providing the brain with what it needs to function better, like vitamin B2, B6, B12, potassium, etc. Having caffeine in your system when you're not getting the best nutrients would possibly have very little effect on your brain, despite the caffeine making your brain release more neurotransmitters. Now let's take a look at the side effects of caffeine. I'm going to point out the three I think is the most detrimental to gaming. Let's get two of the more obvious ones out of the way first. Starting off with the caffeine crash, which I've mentioned before. The crash is exactly what it sounds like. Imagine a blockage on a river being removed. All the water that was being held by the blockage all of a sudden rages downstream, creating a violent flow. This is what happens when caffeine wears off and all that adenosine or fatigue starts making contact with the receptors in your brain. Normally you'd get signals steadily as time passes by, telling you that you're tired and need rest, but when it's in a large amount all at once, you'll feel as if you've suddenly gone sick. Your body's heavy and you just don't feel like doing much. Fortunately, crashes only affect you short term. Another side effect is the caffeine jitters. This comes from the increase of cortisol in your body, which is a natural process for your body to do in the morning, but it's also a hormone that releases when you're stressed. The sudden increase in cortisol can make your body nervous, which can lead to faster heart rate, sweaty hands, and the jitters. In terms of gaming, especially aim, having steady hands definitely plays a huge factor in determining whether you hit your shots. Lastly, the most detrimental effect to gaming in my opinion is the anxiety you get from caffeine. This anxiety also comes from the added cortisol, but it can trick your body to go into a fight or flight response. This by itself isn't that bad. Stress and anxiety can be good in moderation as it can help motivate us to do things. It can help us stay more alert because we're wary. Too much and having it constantly is where things go south. Caffeine takes around 10 hours to completely leave your body. People who need their coffee daily can risk constantly putting their body into fight or flight, and that leads to a bunch of issues including depression, sleep insomnia, brain fog, constant low energy, and even more. Higher intake obviously makes the anxiety worse, but it also decreases cognitive performance instead, which is the opposite of what you want. So how should we properly utilize caffeine? To be blunt, caffeine is a drug. Despite it being in so many beverages you can simply get from a convenience store, it's still classified as a stimulant drug, and we need to exercise caution when dealing with drug use. Luckily for us, caffeine has a low life cycle in your body and also relatively short withdrawal symptoms, so even if you're deep in your caffeine run, changing is quite easy. In my opinion, caffeine should be used once or twice a week. This is to ensure that we're spreading it out so we don't build high tolerance to the caffeine. Having high tolerance just means that you need more to get the same effect every time, and if you keep consuming higher amounts of caffeine, you might just unalive yourself at some point. Sorry lads, I mean being dead. I just wanted to say unalive for the jokes, but yeah. There's a lot of cases where people get heart attacks from taking caffeine even as low as 200 milligrams, which is just a little bit more than a can of Monster Energy. Next, we want to use those caffeine boosts on day we plan to have the most done. This could be like a day where you spend the most time grinding at ranked, or maybe a day where you have a lot to do in real life and you're going to need that boost if you want to grind afterwards. When you're consuming the caffeine, make sure you're taking your time with it and not chug it down, because you can maintain a high energy level for longer and not risk an early crash mid-grind. In conclusion, you should take caffeine in moderation. You don't want to be addicted to caffeine. Caffeine should be consumed as a tool to help you, not as a habit. So use it with caution. Stay safe.